Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna Neetu Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving a beautiful association today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Shivani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Preethi Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Preethi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much for joining and giving a beautiful association Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Shivani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gopika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much for joining and giving a beautiful association today, Mataji.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Shivani
Krishna.
Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vilasini Devi Dasi from College Station, Texas. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Vrinda Hare Krishna Vrinda Gopika Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you Mataji for joining, giving a beautiful association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yashamati Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you Mataji for joining and giving a wonderful and beautiful association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Sondros to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharajas and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Caitanya Bhagavata.
Hare Krishna Kirtaya Sundari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much Mataji for joining and giving a beautiful association today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas. Please, this is Shashida joining from Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Shashidhar Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. Thank you so much for joining and giving a wonderful association, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Once again, I would like to welcome everyone for joining this mid-morning session, Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. I would like to start by sharing a quote by Srila Prabhupada Ji. Hearing the vibration of Hare Krishna automatically reminds one of Krishna's pastimes. Both of them arise simultaneously in the mind when one is sincerely chanting. You cannot make the distinction between listening to the sound and thinking of the pastimes. But the process is to hear, and then Krishna's pastimes, form, qualities, etc. will automatically come to mind. That is very nice. Letter to Sarasvatpur, April 10, 1969. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, once again I welcome you all to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call for this mid-morning session. Today we are very fortunate to have Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji. Mataji will be enlightening us on Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, Adi Khanda 17.119 onwards. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, Preethi Vilasini Mataji. Thank you for your valuable time and beautiful association this morning. We're all waiting very eagerly to hear from you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please take over the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Shivani Mataji. Thank you so much for your warm welcoming. Thanks to all the devotees for joining us today. So today we are reading from Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, and this is going to be verses from Adi Khanda, chapter 17. So before we get ahead and start our discussion on these verses, we'll offer prayers and move on. Om Ajnanatinirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasharini Nirvisesha Shunyavari Pashaya Deshatarani Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ajanulambita bhujau kanakavadhatau sankirtanaikapitaro kamalayadakshau Vishwambharau dvijavarau yugadharmapalau Vande jagatpriyakarau karunavatarau Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandro Jayati Jayati Kirtistasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhrityastasya Vishveshvamurter Jayati Jayati Nrityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam. We are reading from Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, and this is chapter 17, verses 119 to 139. And the topic is interesting. It is about Lord Gaurachandra's transcendental ecstasies. So in our previous session on Thursday, we heard about the transformation of Nimai Pandit to Bhavuk Nimai or Rasik Nimai by His Grace Arjun Saka Prabhu. So let me ask you all a question, icebreaker question. What led to the transformation of Nimai Pandit, that serious, grave Nimai Pandit, to this Rasik Bhavuk Nimai? Anyone?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, can I answer him?
Yes, Prabhu.
Because see, he wanted to exhibit that though he's Supreme Lord, but when he met Ishwar Puri, he just showed as if he's a normal devotee, and just by getting the grace of the spiritual master, he took the dust from the village of Ishwar Puri, and when he said, just I'm begging you for initiation, he said, I'm giving my life to you. They hugged and cried. So he showed how the transformation takes place if one totally goes Sharanagati of Guru and takes the blessings and initiation. They can become a pure good devotee up to each.
Hari Bol. You encapsulated all the reasons in a single phrase. Very, very nice. In a few sentences, you said the whole thing. Yes, Guru Kripa. First of all, he surrendered to his spiritual master. He received the 10-syllable mantra from his spiritual master, and he started chanting the mantra. And overall, as you mentioned, though he is the Supreme Lord, these are his esoteric pastimes. Still, he took the role of an ordinary living entity, and he surrendered himself unto a guru to show the world by example. So, Nimai Pandit, that grave scholar, he now became Rasik Nimai, who was relishing the transcendental mellows of loving devotional service. So, let's see the background that led to today's verses. Nimai started chanting the mantra that he received from his guru, and as he was chanting on the 10-syllable mantra, he meditated on the meaning of the mantra and cried in separation from Krishna. So he started exhibiting transcendental symptoms, and these transcendental symptoms that he was exhibiting was because of the vipralambha rasa, or feelings of separation from Krishna that Nimai was undergoing. So when you chant the holy names of the Lord, we are supposed to feel that we are very insignificant. We are so insignificant. And Krishna is so great. In that thought that we are insignificant and Krishna is so great, yes, he is so merciful that he has given the holy names to us to chant. We feel that intense hankering to achieve the Lord. And in that separation, which is called as Vipralambha Rasa, we chant with full conviction and faith, and we cry out to Krishna. So recently in a class by His Grace Adhikadata Prabhu, he was telling us what real ecstasy means. Real ecstasy means crying out for Krishna, understanding your fallen situation and understanding how great Krishna is. So therefore, because we are here in this material world, we are feeling that separation from that most merciful Lord. And when we cry out, when we chant his holy names, when we cry out in Kirtan, or when we think about our situation and about the grace of Krishna, in that separation, in that Vipralamba rasa, we start exhibiting different symptoms of ecstasy. So like that, Nimai Pandit, in that Vipralamba rasa, in his feelings of separation from Krishna, he was crying out for Krishna. Actually, when Nimai was crying out for Krishna like this, in that separation, in that feeling, in that hankering for Krishna, he was actually with Krishna. That is what happens to devotees. When they are really crying out to the Lord, we all have heard over and over that the holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna himself. So when Nimai was chanting like that in separation and hopelessness from Krishna, actually he was with Krishna. He was with Krishna. Still, this feeling of separation, thinking that one is away from Krishna, is a means of nourishment for Sambhoga. Now, this is very interesting because even the gopis of Vrindavan we see, or the residents of Vraja at various levels, when they would cry out for Krishna, actually they would feel that such intense hankering to be with him. When they are with Krishna, those intense feelings of separation would actually be the nourishment for their union with Krishna. So that's why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in the previous purport, he says the feelings of separation alone are the means and nourishment for Sambhoga, for relationship with Krishna, or conjugal love in direct contact. So these are the different ecstasies that Nimai Pandit was feeling after he got his Diksha mantra from his guru, and after he's chanted these beautiful Krishna Nam by the grace of his guru. Now let's have a quick quiz activity. So Nimai was crying out in various ways. He was using different phrases and he was crying out. So now let's analyze all that he was crying out, and you have to identify in which rasa Nimai is crying out. Okay? No answer is wrong. Just give it a shot. This is from one of the previous verses that was covered on Thursday. Oh my dear Krishna, oh Father, oh Hari, oh my life and soul, where did you go after stealing my heart? This was one of the sentences he spoke.
Vatsalya rasa. Vatsalya rasa, Mataji, parenting.
Yeah, but he's calling Krishna as his father. In Vatsalya rasa, you're seeing Krishna as your child, right?
This is Madhurya Rasa.
Oh, okay. Got
Madhurya
it.
Rasa.
Dasya
Ras?
Okay.
Madhurya Rasa. My life and soul, Madhurya Rasa only.
Yeah, that is true.
Dasya Ras? Oh,
actually, according to the verse and the commentary, since he says, oh my dear Krishna, oh Father, oh Hari, it is supposed to be Dasya Rasa. Okay, Dasya Rasa is correct. See, no one, I told you, all the rasas are going to come, Dasya Rasa. Okay, so the first one he calls Krishna as his father. So that is Dasya Rasa. Now the second one, this is quite easy. I saw my Lord, but now where has he gone? The Lord then began to cry and recite various verses from the 10th canto, chapters 30, 31, 47.
Madhurya rasa.
Madhurya Ras.
Yes, Mataji.
Gopi Git.
Gopi Git, yes. So he started chanting verses in Madhurya Ras. See, he's chanting verses in different rasas, but we'll reconcile. We'll see why he's doing it. And then this is the verse for today. From 119 onwards, we are covering today. The reason I covered the previous day's syllabus is to connect it to today's class. Okay. So first he cried in Dasya Ras, then he cried in Madhurya Ras, and then he loudly cried out in distress. Where did you go leaving behind, my dear child Krishna?
Vatsalya Rasa.
This is Vatsalya Ras. Like in the mood of Nanda and Yashoda. Very nice. So let's read verse number 119. Artanada Prabhu, Artanada Kari Prabhu, Dhake Uche Swara, Kota Gela Bapa Krishna, Chadiya Mohara. loudly cried out in distress. Where did you go, leaving me behind, my dear child Krishna? So this is how Nimai Pandit was crying out in Vatsalya Rasa. When Krishna was leaving leaving Braja, and he was going to Mathura, at that time you all know from Srimad Bhagavatam how Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya were so much in distress. They were completely absorbed in Vatsalya Rasa and they were crying out to Krishna, Hey Bhapa, oh child, why are you leaving us and going? In separation, they lived all their lives, right? So now we see this Gaura Sundar, this Nimai Pandit, he himself is crying out in Vatsalya Rasa. Nimai Pandit is non-different from Krishna, and he's crying out in Vatsalya Rasa. Although Gaura Sundar, although our Nimai Pandit is the object of the 5 types of rasa, he nevertheless displayed the pastimes of being the abode of those 5 rasas. Now, object and we have abode. Object is the thing that we are hankering for, right? So when we say object, who does it mean? Whom are we all hankering for?
Krishna.
Krishna, right? So when you're crying out in separation, in devotion, our object is Krishna. Gaura Sundar and Krishna are non-different. Okay, so Gaura Sundar himself is the object of the 5 types of rasa. However, at this point in time, when he was crying in separation, he displayed the pastimes of being the abode of those 5 rasas. Now, question to you all. If you're crying out in love for Krishna, who's the abode? Who's the abode of the rasas?
Krishna.
Object is Krishna. You're crying for Krishna. Now, who's feeling those rasas?
Gaurachandra. Gaurachandra.
Radharani.
Yes, correct. Gaurachandra. So, if we are crying out for Krishna, then we are being that abode of that rasa. If supposing Sukhakar Prabhu is crying out in Vatsalya rasa, then Sukhakar Prabhu is the abode of Vatsalya rasa, right? And Krishna is the object of Vatsalya rasa. So now what happened? Sri Gaura Sundar, though he is the object of the 5 rasas, because he is non-different from Krishna, he nevertheless displayed pastimes of being the abode of all the 5 rasas. We all know Gaura Sundar as a combination of Radha, Krishna, and he came here to understand the loving devotion of Radharani. So generally we talk only about Madhurya Rasa. However, Gaurachandra, when he was displaying his pastimes, he showed that he is not only the object of the 5 rasas, but he is also the abode of all those 5 rasas. So in Madhurya Rasa, he is a lover. In Vatsalya Rasa, he is a son. In Sakya Rasa, he is a friend. And in Dhasya Rasa, he is a young boy of Vraja, the son of king of Vraja. And in Shanta Rasa, this Krishna is the unknown worshipable object of the spiritually sheltered cows, sticks, and flutes in Vrindavan. In this way, this one Supreme Lord Krishna, who is non-different from Gaura Sundar, becomes the object of all the 5 types of rasa. But in this pastime, he is being both the object and the abode of all these 5 rasas. Like this, Gaura Sundar was exhibiting different moods as he was crying out for Krishna. Now, because we spoke a pastime that involved Vatsalya Rasa, a similar pastime, which is there in Srimad Bhagavatam, when Akrura came to take away Krishna, a similar pastime is also mentioned by Srila Sanatana Goswami in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, you all are very much aware, it is a conversation between a personality by the name Gopakumar, whose original spiritual name was Sarupa, and he was talking his experience. He was telling all his experiences to the Mathura Brahmana who had come to seek his shelter. The Mathura Brahmana's original identity was Janasharma, but his identity he had not understood. So this Gopakumar was telling his own story to uncover the identity of Janasharma. So when he was sharing his experiences of the spiritual world. This Sarupa, he had come from the spiritual world. He was called as Gopa Kumar. In general, we call him Gopa Kumar. He had come from the spiritual world and he had taken the role of a guru. He was trying to inspire Jana Sharma. At that time, this Sarupa, he told a pastime that happens in the spiritual world. Interesting. So we are going to travel to the spiritual world. All the pastimes that happen in this world, they also happen in the spiritual world, but with a little twist. It's not exactly the same. There are some twists and turns in the same pastime that happens in the material world. The same pastime of Akrura coming and taking away Krishna and Balaram and the gopis crying, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya crying happens in the spiritual world as well. Can you imagine, even after you go to Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna is being taken away from you? How will you feel? But that is the sweetness of the spiritual world. In the spiritual world also, you have an opportunity to experience Vipralamba. Because Vipralamba is so sweet, this love and separation is so sweet that it enhances Sambhoga. When you get back with Krishna, you feel million times more happiness because of that hankering that you had during the Vipralamba rasa. So the same thing happens in the spiritual world. So once in the spiritual world, Akrura, he came and he told Yashoda and Nanda that he wanted to take Krishna and Balaram with him. And he told them that Krishna and Balaram are not your sons and they have to go, they have duties, they have to release Devaki and Vasudev and then kill Kamsa and give relief to all the people in Mathura, take care of the kingdom. And he had so many responsibilities. So like that, Akrura came with a message and he wanted to take away the two boys. Yashoda, she became so scared. When she heard the name Kamsa, she became very terrified. And being a very protective mother, she just pulled her son and she covered her son with her pallu, with her cloth, and she held him very tight to her body so that her son wouldn't be gone from her. And she was continuously chanting special mantras for protection of Krishna. So she started chanting Raksha mantras for her little son. She was so scared where her son will leave her and go and face demons. So this is the kind of Vatsalya Rasa that Yashoda was exhibiting. Nanda Maharaj was so heartbroken. The way Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj reacted, it appeared that even logs and rocks would shatter, hearing their cries and plea, asking Akrura not to take away their son. However, Akrura, with strong logic, he convinced Nanda Maharaj. He told Nanda Maharaj that your sons, they really have a very important duty to perform. Their biological parents are waiting for them and they have been suffering in the jail. They have to go. So understanding the necessity, understanding that this is really important, Nanda Maharaj, he tries to convince Yashoda to let go of Krishna. At this point in time, Yashoda just didn't want Krishna to go. And but however, because of her husband convincing her, eventually, Yashoda Maya, she took Krishna's hands and she lovingly placed it in Akrura's hands and told Akrura, now he's your responsibility. My helpless child, he's going to come with you. It's your dire duty to take care of my little child. Whatever happens to him will be your responsibility. And then she looked at Nanda Maharaj because Nanda Maharaj also decided to go. He didn't want to leave Krishna in the hands of Akrura. He said, I will also accompany Akrura. So you don't worry, my dear wife. He convinces Yashoda that don't worry, I will take care of Krishna. I will go with him and I'll make sure everything is safe with respect to Krishna's atmosphere. So I will be there. Now at that time, Yashoda Ma, she called Nanda Maharaj and she told Nanda Maharaj, you better be very careful. Yes, I have entrusted my son in the hands of Akrura, but after all, you only have more responsibility. You are the father. You cannot trust everybody. Though Akrura is taking charge of my son, still you cannot trust him fully. So you better keep an eye on him and take good care of him. So when Krishna and Balaram were actually leaving in the chariot, at that time Yashoda was fainting again and again after that separation. At that time, she was crying out this verse, oh, my child, don't leave me, don't go. How will I survive without you? That is the exact word that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is crying out in separation. And then all the gopis, they were trying to lift her up. She was fainting again and again. And she was trying to be a strong woman. So she was, getting up and she was trying to console the rest of the gopis. Because the gopis were also very worried. They were also worried. Oh, what's happening? Our little Krishna is going away with Akrura. So she was trying to be the strong one. And she was consoling the other gopis. She was telling, it's okay. I know. My Krishna will be back. And this Akrura, actually, he's a saintly person. He will keep up his word. And Nanda Maharaj is there to oversee everything. So eventually, my baby Krishna will be back. So she was trying to console herself and console everyone else. And she again looked at Nanda Maharaj and she told Nanda Maharaj to be very, very careful with her child. And at that time, Nanda Maharaj told her, my dear wife, don't think that I am going to the city of Mathura just to enjoy for some sightseeing or receive some great happiness. I will not leave our child there. I will not give him up for any reason. He cannot become someone else's son. It's impossible. He's always our son. I will bring him back. So like this, Nanda Maharaj makes promises to his wife and all the gopis and tells them, don't worry, be rest assured, I will come back with that child. But then what happened? Nanda Maharaj, of course, he followed the chariot of Akrura. They went to Mathura. And after Krishna went to Mathura, he went and released his parents from the jail of Kamsa. And then he killed Kamsa, and then he took over the kingdom, and then he reinstated his grandfather as the king. And he did all that was needed for the kingdom. He was taking care of the immediate needs. And when it was time for him to return, when Nanda Maharaj requested him to return, he said no, because Vasudeva and others, they requested Nanda Maharaj. They said, see, Krishna has come here after so many years. He has not lived with his biological parents at all. So please let him stay here. He has to go through other samskaras. When he's 11 years old, he must go for his education. Let him go for education. Let him finish his education. And there are so many tyrants. There are so many kings like Jarasandha whom he has to tackle. So he's got so many responsibilities. Please don't take him away to Vrindavan now. He will come to Vrindavan later. So Nanda Maharaj and party, you leave now and leave Krishna with us. So somehow or the other, Vasudeva, he convinced Nanda Maharaj to go back without Krishna. Remember, all this is happening in the spiritual world. In the material world, at least we can believe it. In the spiritual world, all this is happening. And then Nanda Maharaj, he returned without Krishna, along with the other Gopas. And he was so scared to face Mother Yashoda. He was so scared. He was covering his face in shame, because the minute they heard that Nanda is approaching, everyone ran out of the houses. They just wanted to catch a glimpse of Krishna. They had so much faith in Nanda Maharaj's words that he will keep up his word. He will never let his son go. But then when they came back, they saw Nanda, his face hanging down. He was so ashamed and he couldn't bring Krishna back with him. So reciting the story, who's reciting the story in Brihad Bhagavatamrita? It is Sarupa, also known as Gopakumar, who was reciting the story to his dear friend Jana Sharma, who had come to get knowledge from him. When he was reciting, he was painting. He was feeling that separation. Just like how our Mahaprabhu is painting again and again, chanting this verse, similarly, Sarupa was also painting again and again, he was just not able to speak. We are also hard-hearted. I'm able to speak, you're all able to listen. We have no emotions for Krishna. But Sarupa, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all of them, when they were reciting this pastime, they were so involved. They were so involved. They were just crying. Their heart was breaking. However, it did happen that Yashoda was so disappointed. All the gopis were so disappointed. Their hearts were shattered. But in the spiritual world, I told you, there are twists and turns. Krishna actually comes back. He comes back after a few years. It is mentioned that he finishes his studies, he kills Kamsa, and then he comes back when he hears the plea of the devotees through the messages of Uddhava. This also happens in the 10th canto. So Uddhava is sent as a messenger, remember? So after all that, Krishna is convinced and he actually comes back. And again, there is Sambhoga. So that Vipralamba period, that separation period, when they were hankering for Krishna, what happened at that time? They were so badly longing to see Krishna when they had that union with Krishna. When Krishna came back, when they had Sambhoga, the happiness was a million times. We are hearing Vritrasura Stuti at this point in time in the early morning class in Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the examples that Vritrasura gives is a wife waiting for her husband to come back. How much happiness she feels, right? After the husband goes on long travels, many of you must be in that situation. Your husbands must be traveling. So when he comes back, how much happiness? There is so much happiness to see our husband come back, right? Like that. So that separation period, it enhances the happiness when there is something. Now for a material world itself, it is like that. You can imagine how it is in the spiritual world, that too with our one and only Purusha, Sri Krishna, one and only Purusha of this entire cosmos. So these pastimes of Vipralamba and Sambhoga, they happen over and over, not only here in Brajdam, but also in the spiritual world. And one may ask, okay, the same pastime is happening again and again in the spiritual world. Won't they remember that this had happened, Krishna came back? So next time it happens, won't they be convinced Krishna is going to come back? So I won't feel the separation. Sanatana Goswami says no. They will forget everything because Yogamaya arranges it in such a way that they forget this happened. And the next time it happens, they feel the same separation and the same happiness. So like this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also seeking out, he was crying out for Krishna in separation. We'll move to the next verse. Ye Prabhu achilate paramagambhira, se Prabhu haila prema paramasthira. The Lord who was previously most grave now became greatly agitated and ecstatic. And let's see what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has to say in this. He says, this same Nimai Pandit, who was a grave teacher in Navadvip, he had now become agitated in love for Krishna. Why did he become agitated in love for Krishna? Because he was chanting the holy names of Krishna. Anyone who sees Krishna, anyone who chants his holy name, whether you see his deity form in the temple, or you see his beautiful form in the picture, or you hear descriptions about his beauty and his glories from Srimad Bhagavatam, or you chant his holy name, which is imbued with everything that Krishna has. The holy name has everything. It's as good as seeing Krishna in person. So when Nimai Pandit was chanting these holy names, obviously, what do you expect from him? The incomparable nature of love for Krishna is such that when one is overcome by it, even a person as grave as millions of oceans becomes controlled by the most wonderful restlessness and waywardness. This is the beauty of Krishna. And he quotes two verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. One verse about the beauty of Krishna and one verse about the holy names of Krishna. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, in the Adi Leela 4.147, it is said, the beauty of Krishna has one natural strength. It thrills the hearts of all men and women, beginning with Lord Krishna himself. And this was pretty much the theme of our previous class on Thursday. You all heard Arjun Saka Prabhu's class, right? So he was talking about this, right from men, women, non-living entities, the stone, rocks, and Krishna himself. Radharani, everybody is just bewildered by the beauty of Krishna. And not only the beauty of Krishna, Antyalila 3.268 says, the holy name of Krishna is so attractive that anyone who chants it, including all living entities, moving and non-moving, and even Lord Krishna himself, becomes imbued with that love of Krishna. This is the effect of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So beautiful. So anyone who chants the name of Krishna will become completely absorbed in love of Krishna. You all know this beautiful story of the thief in Vrindavan. All the kids, all the adults, everyone knows this story. One of Srila Prabhupada's famously quoted stories to elaborate on this point. Krishna is the abode of all beauty. Once there was a Bhagavat Kathakar who was telling the story of Sri Krishna, and he was describing the beauty of Krishna. He was telling how Krishna is so beautiful He wears beautiful ornaments. His limbs are so tender. He has a face like a lotus flower, and he has an enchanting smile. He wears lovely anklets. He wears bracelets. He wears pearl necklaces, and he adorns his head with beautiful jewelry and a peacock feather. He tends the cows in the land of Vrindavan. So, like this Bhagavad Kathakar was describing the beauty of Krishna and the jewels he's wearing. So a thief in this assembly, he got attracted to the point that Krishna wears jewels because all his attraction was for the money and the jewels. So when he heard that there is a boy in Vrindavan who has all these jewels, the immediate thought in the thief's mind was, let me go and capture this boy so that I will get all the jewels. So he had intense hankering. This is what happens when you hear about the beauty of the Lord, or you hear his name, or you hear about his pastimes. Intense hankering fills up in the heart. So he was hankering, I must see Krishna, I must see Krishna. And he really thought that if he goes now, he'll find this little boy roaming in the forest of Vrindavan with cows wearing jewels. So that anxiety, that eagerness, it made it possible for him to go to Vrindavan. And Krishna appreciated the eagerness that he had. So Krishna gave darshan. Krishna literally came in front of him. And he saw this boy had the same qualities. He's looking exactly like how this Bhagavat reader had described. So the minute he saw Krishna, he went and he caught hold of Krishna. And he told Krishna, I want all your jewels. Give away all your jewels. But then Krishna said, no, no, no. What will I go tell my mother? I can't do all this. And then finally, by the touch and presence of Krishna, this thief was completely purified and he was filled with love of Krishna. You also recently heard the story of the devotee of Lord Ram who was chanting, he was chanting Ram's names initially. But then after he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what happened? He understood the glories of Krishna's name and he started chanting Krishna's name. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came back, he came and asked him, what happened to you? You were chanting Lord Ram's name. Now what happened to you? Why are you chanting Krishna's name? Right? Like that. So Krishna's name is very attractive, very, very attractive. The minute either you chant, you think about his beauty, or you hear about him, it completely captivates one's heart. So that Gambhira, Parama Gambhira, Ye Prabhu Achila Ati Parama Gambhira. That's how he was, Nimai Pandit. He was like that. But then, Haila Prema Parama Asthira. Asthira means he became unsteady, chanting the holy names of the Lord. This is the most beautiful glory of the Nama Rupa Guna Leela of the Lord. We'll continue to see what else happened with Mahaprabhu. Gada Gadi Yayena Kandena Uchya Swaryay Bhasi Lena Nija Bhakti Viraha Sagare. He rolled on the ground, cried loudly, and floated in the ocean of devotional feelings and separation. The phrase Bhakti Viraha Sagare means in a mature stage of Vipralamba Rasa. So when a devotee is experiencing Vipralamba, separation in Krishna, the Viraha becomes like an ocean in that mature state. So that's how Mahaprabhu was. Tabe katakshane asi sarva sishya gane sustakari lena asi asesha yatane. Then after some time, my students came and pacified him with great prayer. Prabhu bale tomar sakale yahagare muyi arana yaimu samsara bhitare. The Lord said to them, you all go back to Navadvip. I will not return to material life. So now the Lord, after feeling all these ecstasies, when the disciples came to take him back, he said, no, you go to Navadvip. I'm not coming. I'm not coming back to that material life again. I just want to be in this sagara, in this devotional feelings, this bhakti viraha sagara. I just want to immerse myself in this. Mathura dekhite mui chali mu sarvata prananata mora Krishna Chandra panayata. The Lord told them, I must go to Mathura. There I will see the Lord of my life, Sri Krishna Chandra. So beautiful. So Mahaprabhu, he was absorbed in the mood of the gopis, who are the abode of Madhura Rasa. You all identified that. And because in this specific, I think one of you also mentioned this, because in one of those verses, he's referred as Prananath. So in Madhura Rasa, especially when you refer the Lord as Prananath, you can understand it is the words of the gopis. So being absorbed in the mood of the gopis, who are the abodes of Madhura Rasa, the phrase Prananath Krishna Chandra is used by the Lord to address Rajendra Nandan, who is the object of the rasa. One of you mentioned this earlier too. Anyway, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or our Nimai, he was absorbed in the mood of the gopis. And he was telling, I will now go to Mathura because I'm feeling so much separation from Krishna. Nana rupe sarva sishya ghana prabodhiya stira kari rakilena sabai milaya. The students tried in various ways to solace the Lord and keep him peaceful. Now the Lord desired to leave. He wanted to go to Mathura. Bhakti rase magnahai vaikuntera pati chitte swasthya payena rahibhena kati. The Lord of Vaikunta, however, was absorbed in devotional sentiments and his heart was agitated. So how could he remain peaceful? Kaharena bhali prabhu kataratri seshe mathura ke chali lena premera aveshe. Early one morning, without informing anyone, the Lord departed for Mathura in great ecstatic love. So this is what really happened. He was so absorbed in love for Krishna that though his disciples were telling him, no, please calm down. Don't get so excited. Let's go back to Navadvip. Still, because he was so absorbed in that love of God, one morning, without informing anyone, the Lord decided to depart for Mathura in ecstatic love. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explains to us that the Lord was completely absorbed in the mood of the gopis. So he could feel that intense separation. He became so overwhelmed that without telling anyone, he just decided, let me go. And he started moving. And then he was having other emotions too. We already saw in the beginning of the class that he was having so many different emotions of the gopi, emotions of Yashoda and Nanda. He had emotions of other devotees in Vrindavan. He had emotions in all the rasas. So like that, again, he started shouting out, Krishna re, Bhap re, Mura paimu khotaya, ye mata baliya ya, ye na gaurarai. As Lord Gaura walked, he cried out, oh Krishna, oh my child, where can I find you? So again, he went back to Vatsalya Rasa. So now, a few minutes back, we saw that he was absorbed in Madhura Rasa. Now again, he got absorbed in Vatsalya Rasa of Raj, and he loudly addressed Krishna in a very piteous tone, and he displayed the pastime of searching for Krishna. So this actually reminded me of many great devotees following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had exhibited the pastimes of being completely absorbed in the glories of the Lord. There is one particular devotee by the name Kulashekara Alvar. You all know Kulashekara, Raja Kulashekara, who wrote Mukundamala Stotra. There are many devotees who were following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being completely engrossed in the glories of the Lord. One such devotee, I wanted to tell his story, is Kulashekara. Kulashekara, he was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, actually. His Ishtadev was Ramchandra. He would love to hear the pastimes of Lord Ram from different people, different Bhagavat Kathakars who would come to the palace to tell stories. He would hear the stories of Lord Ram, especially from the Valmiki Ramayana, from all these great sages. So from time to time, he would invite different Vaishnavas, and these Vaishnavas would come and tell him the stories. So when he would hear the stories of Lord Ramachandra, he would get so absorbed. He would just get immersed in these beautiful pastimes of Lord Ram. Once he was hearing the story of how Lord Ram had single-handedly dealt with Karadoshan, Trishiras, and 14,000 demons. So hearing the situation, hearing about it, Kulashekar Alvar, he got so absorbed in it that he took up his sword and he said, "Oh, my dear Lord is single-handedly dealing with so many demons. I will now gather my entire army and I will go and fight with him." So he lifts a sword and he rushes out of the palace, trying to find where this Karadoshan are in. He starts telling, "I will go to Janasthan and I will start fighting with all these demons. How can my Lord Ram handle all of them single-handedly?" Then this happens at one point in time, and then all the ministers calm him down and tell him, "No, it's just telling you the story of Lord Ram. Please calm down. Actually, the Ramayana happened several ages ago, so you don't worry so much about it. Please come back." One another time, when another personality was talking about the same Valmiki Ramayana, he was describing the scene of Sita being kidnapped and taken to Lanka by Ravan. So at that time, again, Kulashekar Alvar, he was so absorbed in the story that he got up and he called out for his entire army and he said, "At this minute, I will cross this ocean. I will cross this ocean and Southern Ocean," because it was very close to his palace. So he says, "I will cross the Southern Ocean. I will go and I will retrieve Sita. I will help Ram to retrieve Sita." Like that, he called out for his entire army, and it is described that he was so absorbed that he started walking through the ocean, and the ocean was almost, covering him up, and he was getting completely swept away by the waves of the ocean. Then a lot of people had to go and pull him out and then bring him back to the palace and tell him, "No, the story was, this person was only telling a story, so please don't get so emotionally involved in the whole thing. You have to come back to your senses. You're a king. You have this kingdom. You have to take care of this." Actually, but before he came back to the kingdom, before he was brought back to the kingdom and the ministers told him, it is mentioned that Lord Ram himself, looking at the devotion of Kulashekar Alvar, he appeared in the sky in the Pushpak Viman with Sita, reassuring Kulashekar Alvar that Sita is being brought back, everything is over, the battle is over, so you can go back to the kingdom. So here is that beautiful image of the Lord in Pushpak Viman in the sky, actually bestowing his blessings on Kulashekar Alvar. And then Alvar comes back, and then all his ministers advise him, "Please, you have to really hold your emotions, don't get so involved." So like that, there are many great devotees. Even in this time and age, we see many great devotees who get very involved when Harikatha is being spoken. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of the gopis, in the mood of Yashoda and Nanda, he was completely lost. Tatadura yaitesu shunena divyavayani yekane maturagna yaibadvijamani. After traveling for a while, where did he travel? He was trying to go to Mathura. After traveling for a while, the Lord heard a voice from the sky saying, "O crest jewel of the Brahmanas, do not go to Mathura. Yaibara kalat ache, yaibataka nidnavadvipe, nija grihe chalaha yekane." You will go when the appropriate time comes. Now you should return to your house in Navadvip. Tumi Shri Vaikuntha Nata Loka Nistarite Avatirna Hayacha Sabara Sahite. You are the Lord of Vaikuntha, and you have appeared along with your associates to deliver the people of the world. Ananta Brahmanda Maya Kariya Kirtana Jagatera Bilaiba Prema Bhakti Dhana. When you distribute the wealth of ecstatic love, your kirtan will inundate innumerable universes. So he heard a voice from the sky forbidding him from going to Vrindavan at this point in time. Now, who is that voice from the sky? It is the demigods. It is the demigods who alerted Mahaprabhu. My dear Mahaprabhu, the time has not come. Please don't go now. Now, let me ask you, were there other attempts when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to go to Vrindavan and he was stopped? Give me those situations. Anyone? No guess is wrong. whatever you know. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji. One time Nityananda Prabhu stops Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after sannyas.
Exactly. So that was the second time. Very nice. So the first time was right after his initiation. From Gaya itself, he wanted to go to Mathura. But then voices from the sky, who are the demigods, they forbade him and they told him not to go. Okay, this is number one, first instance. Second instance was right after sannyas. Right after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he wanted to go to Vrindavan. But then Nityananda Prabhu diverted him to Shantipur. Remember that pastime? It's there in Chaitanya.
Mataji, can I tell?
Yes.
Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was telling, I want to go to Mathura, I want to go to Vrindavan. Nityananda Prabhu said, this is Mathura. Then he said, Yamune, Yamune. He was crying, Yamune, Yamune. And immediately, Advaita Acharya said, this is Shantipur. Oh, when did you come to Vrindavan? You came without telling me. How did you come? He said, no, this is my place, Shantipur. This is Ganga. Then he told Nityananda Prabhu, what did you do? You told him, Yamuna, Vrindavan. Then Nityananda Prabhu said, wherever Tirthanti Kurban is, that wherever you are, that is a dham. And your lotus feet is the place of all the dhams and all the pure devotees on your lotus feet. Like that, he made it. And he said, you are very intelligent, very smart. You are very chaliya. Then he told that you just take one string from the kopin and you will get everything, Nityananda Prabhu. He glorified Nityananda, and Nityananda Prabhu said, you just fall at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, take one tulasi, give it to, offer to in his hand, because he will not take his leg, he's a devotee. And then you take the tulasi, then you will become the purest, you will get Krishna Prem. Sorry, I'm just talking.
Hari.
Sorry about this.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. You described the entire pastime so beautifully. Thank you so much. There is one another time, the third attempt. Anyone knows that? And at that time, actually, he gathered a lot of people. He was going, and then Sanatan Goswami told him something very important. Do you remember that, anybody?
Sanatan Goswami, I told him not to take everybody because so he took only I think Balabhadracharya.
Yes, correct. Very nice, Devi. So the third attempt also failed. He went back to Puri, and then from there he took Balabhadra Bhattacharya and he went to the forest of Vrindavan. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, third chapter, talks about the attempt when Nityananda Prabhu stops. And then 16th chapter talks about the attempt when Sanatan Goswami advises him and he goes back to Jagannath Puri. And then again he restarts his journey to Vrindavan. Okay. So 3 attempts failed. And who is failing? The Supreme Lord, who's non-different from Krishna. 3 attempts. Keep that in mind. See, these are all very beautiful learning lessons. Yes, someone wanted to say something? Okay. So these are all very beautiful learning lessons for us. Each of these little pastimes that the Lord performs. Even after 3 failed attempts, what happened to the Lord? The Lord, of course, finally went to Vrindavan. But in those 3 failed attempts, his hankering kept increasing. His love for Krishna kept increasing. He did not become discouraged, thinking, I will never go to Vrindavan, it will never happen to me. No, he went, but his hankering increased. Brahma Shiva Sanakadi Girase Vifala Mahaprabhu Anaga Yena Ye Mangalataha Tumi Jagat Tere Di Barakarane Avatirna Hayacha Janaha Pane. You have advented to distribute that love which Lord Ananta always glorifies and which Brahma, Shiva and the 4 Kumaras are overwhelmed with. This fact is known to you, the demigods are telling. Sevaka amara tabu chahi kahi bara atayeva kahi lana charani tomara apanara vidata apane tume prabhu tomara ye icha से लगना नाहे कबू आते एव महाप्रभु चला तुम्ही घर विलंबे देखी बा असीमतु नगर नगरा. We are your servants. Therefore, we offer this reminder at your lotus feet. O Lord, you are supremely independent. Whatever you desire cannot be checked by anyone. Therefore, O Lord, please return home. You will see the city of Mathura later. Of course. What is failure for the Lord, right? There's no question of failure. The Lord desires not to go now. The Lord's desires will manifest when he actually truly desires to go after 3 attempts. So the demigods are telling, therefore, O Lord, please return to your home. You will see the city of Mathura later. You are supremely independent. Your desire cannot be checked by anyone. Maybe you have decided it's not the time for you to go now. Shunina Akashavani Shri Gaura Sundara Nivarta Haila Prabhu Hari Shantara. After hearing the voice from the sky, Shri Gaura Sundar was satisfied. He was very, very satisfied and he stopped his journey. He knew it was actually that emotion. He was moving towards Mathura, but he knew it was not the time. Vishaya Asiya Sarva Sishira Sahite Nijagrahe Chali Lena Bhakti Prakashite. The Lord returned to his home in Gaya and then took his students back to Navadvip, where he revealed the devotional service of Krishna. So by the request of all his disciples, he returned back home to Navadvip. So these are the verses that is given to us for today. Now there are 2 reflections in this. What Mahaprabhu has taught us. First and foremost thing is immersion in Harikatha. When we hear, we chant, we see the form of the deities. There are so many ways to be involved in Krishna's service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho Smaranam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Padasevanam Archanam Vandyam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. Like this, there are so many methods, especially Shravanam Kirtanam. It is important for us to be immersed in Harikatha. Our kind of hearing is hearing on the go, right? But great devotees, very great devotees, like Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and then you have other devotees who are very exalted, like Kulashekara, for example, we saw today. There are many great devotees who are very absorbed in Harikatha and they enter Harikatha, they become a part of Harikatha. So that is the standard we must all be aspiring for when we hear Harikatha. Harikatha is naturally very sweet. It's not that the person who's speaking Harikatha is giving you a neem leaf and asking you to swallow it. They are giving you gulab jamuns and rasgullas. So it should be very easily taken by all of us and we should relish it. And we should try our best to be involved in Harikatha. That is something Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing all of us. The second thing that he shows is patience and endeavor in devotional service. After 3 failed attempts, still Mahaprabhu didn't give up. He didn't think, oh, why me? I'm the only one who's not gone to Vrindavan. So many of us are not able to go to dhams, so many of us. But we can have hopes and we can relish that separation. We can listen about the glories of Vrindavan Dham. We can listen about the glories of Mayapur Dham and endeavor with patience that one day we may be able to enter the Dham. The same thing applies to any service we want to do. So sometimes we are not given an opportunity to do certain services, but it's not a failure. Krishna is just increasing our hankering for him. One day we will be able to do that service without any impediment by Krishna's grace. So these are the 2 things Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing us through these few verses in this pastime. So I'll stop here. If you have any thoughts or reflections, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for a very, very beautiful nectarian class. Yeah, very wonderfully you, in so much depth you explained all the verses. And we should always have patience and keep endeavoring with patience. And we should try to immerse in Harikatha. It's not easy. We're not there yet. But please pray for me that hopefully one day. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or realizations, please go ahead at this time. Please raise your hands.
Yes, Sukha.
Hare Krishna. Preethi Vilasini Mataji, you really showed the video. I could see that I am with Mahaprabhu. You are really a wonderful devotee. You are not from this material world. You are actually, I am always, when I saw you, that you are actually that Kodai, what is in Tamil, what you call
Andal.
Andal. You are Andal has come now. You have come as Andal. You are definitely from Sri Sampradaya. Now you have come to enlighten the Brahma Mari Gaudiya Sampradaya. So from your lecture today, what I could gather, can you just share one realization, Mataji, if you don't mind?
Yes, Prabhu.
Actually, you told that Vipranva Bhav, when they are not meeting, he feel like though he's hankering, he feels they're going to meet soon. So Indra Prabhu, once in his lecture, he told that Srila Prabhupada told that some devotees came and told that in Kumara Sampradaya they call Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Sham, 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 Radhe Radhe. Why it is Hare? So he said, Caitanya Bhagavata has told Hare is Hara Radharani. And out of 16, 8 are Hare is coming. And when we chant, we have to say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That the more when you say Hare means Radha, and when you say Ra, Krishna comes running. Who is going to call Radha? The moment you say Da, he just Alinga, he catches you. You see, Rama is only Radhika Raman. That's also Krishna only. So Srila Prabhupada said, Mahaprabhu has told this, we have to chant this only because Hare Krishna is their union. Krishna, Radharani is crying. Hare, Krishna is crying. Then when they are crying, they know they're going to meet Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, like that. When we chant, we have to be in that mood that we have showed that they're going to leave and join. And we should get immersed, first attention, then awareness and absorption. What you told about this absorption. So thank you, Mataji. Your lecture was so good. I'm relishing.
Thank you for giving this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra also all about separation and union. So thank you for adding that, like the cherry on it. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
I want to hear a class. This class every week you must give one class. The organizer should give you one class for you every week. You're wonderful, awesome, and I'm really indebted to you. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Tomar Ashirwad. Thank you so much.
Amar Ashirwad, apne se sab samay ache. Apni Bangali, you are going to go to only Gaudiya. That's something nowhere else. This is your last life. Pakka.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees. Anyone else? Anita Gandarika Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Preethi Vilasini Mataji, Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji. Such a very nice interactive session and so beautiful, Mataji. Always, it's very nice to hear from you. Very grateful to you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for being there with us always. We always need your association, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna ji, Preethi Vilasini Mataji, Koti Koti Danvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai. So sincere Vaishnavi you are. I agree, Prabhuji, with you that these Matajis in Atlanta temple had she's serving Shishi, not only at Atlanta temple, Shishi Radha, Shishi Kishore Kishori, Shishi Chicago Dham, Shishi California Dham. That I have seen that always sitting in the all the Vaishnava and always teach them Krishna Katha, and she come in our level so that we understand the Leelas and making nice prasadam for the Vaishnava Bhakti Vruksa. More than 85 nowadays, maybe 150 Vaishnava, the kids of Ajji Preethi Vilasini, Ajji Vrishabhanu Prabhu, and Ajji Shyam Bihari Prabhu, they are taking care of them so nicely. I have seen them in Atlanta Paniati Dham. Koti Koti Danvat Pranam, dear Ajji Preethi Vilasini, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai, Jai Jai Nityananda, Jai Jai Gauranga. Yes, Prabhuji, I agree. They are came to give us Krishna consciousness from Shishi Gaulok Ram. They Bhakti Ustads, all teacher gopis, Vrindavan Dham gopis.
Yes. You're also a gopi.
Yes. Yes. You're also a gopi. That's why she's Vrinda Gopika.
Yes. You are Radha Preeti actually. You are Radha Preeti.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Vinny.
Go ahead, Manrika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Balavinda. I really liked your class.
You liked it, buddy? Very nice. Thank you so much. Thank you for your presence.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. So nice to hear Caitanya Bhagavata again from you, Mataji. It's been a while. Also, it's always very nectarian when you start Brihad Bhagavatamrita in class, Mataji. So thank you so much for sharing the pastimes of Lord Krishna from Brihad Bhagavatamrita also. Hare Krishna. Wonderful, very nectarian.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. Mataji, so much thank you to you. It's very, very nectarian class, and I love whatever you explained, the Vipralambhav of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he was in Krishna's name when he was taking Krishna's name, and how he was getting so much separation. So sometimes it happens, whatever you say when you chant the Krishna's name, any form comes to your eyes. And at that time, we just get like a separation, right? So it's very nice, and you explain everything so nicely, and you just involve us in this Krishna's pastime. So it was very nice, Mataji. Thank you very much. I'm so grateful to you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hope you're feeling better and you're recovering well.
Yeah, doctor gave me steroid and then little bit better now.
Prayers, Mataji. Take care.
Duksagara Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'm going to just share one more relation. Whenever I see you and hear a lot of chanting things when it comes. You know, I heard in another lecture of Srila Prabhupada, actually the tongue is actually lovable to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Krishna comes for dancing. And Shravanam is Radharani. So whatever we are chanting, the chanting mouth is like the Havan, Vatika is our tongue. And from there we are chanting is the ghee. We take the ghee and Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. When you listen carefully, Radharani is happy. When Krishna and Radharani mixes nicely, it goes inside and becomes Gauranga inside. And goes inside and the Smarana comes, and then our heart and the mind will be clean. So every time when you chant, we should chant nicely and clearly and loudly to make Krishna happy. And we should listen carefully to make Radharani happy. When both are happy, Gauranga is happy, Gaurnita is happy. So like that, I am explaining, I want to share with everybody.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. So nice.
Sorry, I'm wasting so much time because when I hear it, all the things are coming out. Thank you.
So nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much. We are also inspired by your immersion, Prabhu. Every time you speak, you're always immersed in Katha.
Because this Gauranga word what I got was, Gora is Go is Govinda and Ra is Radha. So when Gora meets, it's Sangha. Gora, Sangha, Gauranga. That's it, Gauranga. That's what the Gauranga word is come.
Thank you. Anyone else has anything to add or any comments, any corrections?
No corrections, only reflections. What correction?
Once again, I would like to thank Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji for her valuable time and wonderful association today. Thank you so much, Mataji, for a very beautiful nectarian class. You explained all the verses in such depth and very beautiful class. And indeed, dear devotees, if there are no more questions or realizations at this time, I would like to pay my obeisances to Her Grace Preethi Vilasini Mataji and all the assembled devotees. Do I have your permission to close the call, Mataji?
Sure.
पांचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुएव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। नामाचार्य हरदास ठाकुर जी की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री चैतन्य भागवत क्लास की जय। हर ग्रेस प्रीति विलासिनी माता जी की जय।
जय हो।
जय हो, जय हो, जय हो।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
Jai. Thank you, Mataji.
Gauranga,
गौरांग
Gauranga, Nityananda, Nityananda, Gauranga, Gauranga, Nityananda. जय जय श्री राधे श्याम, सबको मिले वृंदावन धाम। गोवर्धन गिरी की जय। प्रीति विलासिनी माता जी की जय हो। Once more again, Gaura, Gaura, wonderful.
Thank you so much. We'll end
We
the
want
call.
every day your class.
हरे कृष्ण।